We are 17 miles away from where we started. We've even overtaken something. Hi, I'm Darren, an untrained amateur who's determined to save one of the last of his classic cars. This is Roy, a 45-year-old 2.8 litre Vauxhall Royale Coupe. When I owned one 30 years ago, they were rare. Now they're unknown. This is one of the last of its kind, and I'm going to rescue it and relive my youth. Follow the rebuild, watch this legend come back to life. I am bored of this hole. This hole doesn't do anything helpful. Now I know some people will say I'm being absolutely terrible and have me shot in the car park, but I've bought an Android radio. Just because you drive a car from the 70s doesn't mean it has to be the 70s in here all the time. It actually fits rather nicely. It is a practicality thing more than anything, because it'll let me connect my phone to it and therefore take a call hands-free. Yes, I know it's not original, but then again, I don't think there's very much being played on medium wave anymore. So I have got a radio in the boot that came with the car. I don't know if it works or not, and all it is just an AM FM radio with a tape deck. There are limits. So I think we'll drop this in and see what happens. So while I was down at the fuse box, I have hooked up a permanent live and a ignition controlled live. I did have an earth there, but it has just come off of its little jobby, which is not helpful. I've also got absolutely zero idea if the speakers that are in this car are any good, and we have lots of exotic things in this bag, including those, that, and one of them. There's also a rear reversing camera. That might be taking things a bit too far. I mean, Roy's going to be amazed. He's not going to know. No one will have told him that, like, you can take telephone calls in the car now. He's just going to be absolutely overwhelmed. I mean, it's not only that. You wait till he finds out about sat-nav. Poor old boy, he's going to have a technological fit of the vapours. Right, what we got? Key 1, don't know what that is. Battery 12 volt. Antenna, don't need it. Ground, need that one. Accessory, need that one. Illumination, brake. Back, key 2, another ground. Some of this will be speakers as well. Ground, accessory, and 12 volt. They look like things that might be enjoyable. Tell you what we'll do, we'll break the rules and we'll look at the instructions. Because it's steering wheel control. It's absolutely brilliant the fact that they have produced a variety of different colours in this box. But the colours mean absolutely nothing, and they're not any different sizes. Which means that we have to do the haircut trick, which is not great. Electrically makes me come out in a rash, but you know. Ground, this is the permanent 12. Always do them with connectors, because then when they're the wrong way round you can just swap them over. Comes on and off okay. This is good. And of course, the really good thing with these cheap little Android devices, not only are they ferociously cheap, they are short because they haven't got a mech in them. So they're, well, you used to have to really cram it all in there, try and get the wires in. Oh, that's horrible. Okay. Okay. Right, I'm just going to get to grips with it and I'll come back to you. Well, what you're hearing is the speakers in Roy. It works. We've got Android Auto. You're hearing the time-lapse bit from a video you haven't seen yet. Oh no, you will have seen it, because this will come after it. The people out there haven't seen it. Shh, don't tell them yet. But this is playing a bit of YouTube library music is a way of being able to do this without getting a copyright strike. It's absolutely fine. Sounds all right. I'm good with that. It'll do for the time being. Right, morning everyone. What we're going to do today is a really exciting day actually, because I'm going to take Roy on a proper drive. A proper sort of 40-50 mile drive if I can. So there's a couple of things I want to do before then. Really small things. The first one is the kickdown cable. Now if you watch the video where I put the engine in, you'll see that kickdown cables are not available for the car. So I got one for a Rover, which uses exactly the same gearbox, but the cable is not long enough to reach the accelerator pedal. I think on the Rovers they connect to the carburettor, that's what it is. So I need to extend the cable. Now that sounds easy, but it's a Bowden cable, so it's got an inner core and it's got an outer sheath, and you have to keep the two in relation to each other. So if you're going to have another piece of cable, you've got to keep those two bits of outer cable fixed, so the centre cable, when it moves, doesn't move the outer cable. And I think I know how to do it. I've got a cunning way of how to do it, and I've bought some parts to let me knock it up. Now if this works, this is going to be brilliant for all Vauxhall owners who've got this gearbox, because this will be a solution to the kickdown cable problem, because you just cannot get them. So what we've got on the car at the moment is a cable, a kickdown cable, which consists of outer sheath like this and an inner core. Now this is a kit that I got from Amazon, and it's for repairing bicycle brakes. I measured it all with a vernier gauge so that I know all the sizes that are involved, and I've got the same size sort of outer diameter and the same size inner diameter. So at the moment, if you like, we've got a piece of cable on the car with a bit of that coming out the middle of it, and there's a screw thread. We're stuck with that at that end. It's vulcanized onto the cable. I don't want to touch it. These are those screw threads. So what I'm thinking is, where we've got that, effectively we've got that coming out of one end of the car, but obviously the cable's on the inside. What we do is create a piece of angle with folded over ends, so it's like a little box section, 2 holes in either end, and that way we can screw the relevant ends into each end of the box section and have a section in the middle where the cable can be crimp joined together with those crimps, and also can move around. The whole thing needs to be assembled in situ on the car, because at the accelerator end we'll make use of one of these to hook it up to the accelerator. So we need to be able to build the cable on the car, but that's not a problem. We just need to build the box section today. So, I think this is easy. And if it works, as I say, it's going to be one of my more stunning ideas. Almost as good as yesterday's riv nut idea. And if I keep having these good ideas, my foot will fall off. So, we've got some steel. The width is about long enough to do exactly what I want. Incidentally, if you don't understand the derivation of the anecdote I keep saying, where I say that if I have many more good ideas, my foot will fall off, it comes from Blackadder the second. It's the second series of Blackadder, and the Queen had a good idea, and her nursemaid said to her, "Oh, you want to be very careful that if you have too many good ideas, you want to be very careful your foot doesn't fall off." And the Queen said, "Oh, nursey, is that what happens when you have lots of good ideas?" And she said, "Yes, it is." She said, "My brother had this good idea of cutting his toenails with a scythe, and his foot fell off." Of course, obviously we got to an interesting bit there, so the camera stopped working. So we've made a right angle, we've folded the 2 ends over. I've now marked the centre, and we'll just put a punch mark on the centre to drill it, and then over at the pillar drill. Now, what I actually wanted to do, and what I will do at one end, is put a riv nut in the end to clamp the 2 bits together. But I tried a riv nut on the cable that's on the car yesterday, and it's got a slightly different thread. I think it's got a UNF thread rather than metric, so I can't put a riv nut into that particular end. That's an M5, I think it's an M6, these, yeah, they are. So we'll just put a straightforward hole in there. In one end, and we'll let because it's got 2 nuts on it back at the car. So it's M6, so if we put a 6.5 hole. So over at the pillar drill. Yes, mother, I bought a pillar drill. No, I didn't really mention it, but you know, tools. It's come in handy a few times actually, just for being able to make really accurate cuts. Bulldog here. I think we have. Oh well. We must have some oil. This is practically a garage. There must be oil in here. Come on, think. WD-40. So back on the car, where we've got that situation going on, we'll do that with it. So that then gives me a scope for adjustment, and it lets me connect on to the bit on the car. Make sure we've got it square, like that. And then at this end we'll do the same for my new cable. Okay, the chances are that either you can't see anything at all or you can see more than I can. What we need to do is go through that hole there with the inner cable, because that's the kickdown loop. And the idea is that the inner cable is slack enough so that when the accelerator is pushed to the floor, the slack is taken up, and that causes the kickdown to be pulled. So that adjustment I've built into the system will actually be quite useful. So here's my inner cable, and the hope is that I go through and through the bushing that takes the outer cable under the bonnet. That just then was typical of why I think people give up YouTube, because when they're doing things like this, you know, because just I had it in the hole, then the camera dropped, landed on the cable and pulled it out of the hole. You know, not your problem, but there, good. Right, so we've come through the bushing, and now we've got a round end on this cable. So that's now engaged with the accelerator, and that's got no slack on it at all. Okay, so here's our cable from the gearbox that we need to extend. That's the inner cable coming from the accelerator. So we need a length of outer cable that's approximately that. If this works, I might end up rebuilding the accelerator cable like this. So, you know, that now slides over the inner cable and inserts itself into that bushing. Nice. Now we can put an adjustment nut on that and get the magic gadget into the jobby we built. Take all the slack out of it. That end goes into the jobby we built. Okay, so all the slack out of the system. Push the accelerator to the floor again. Okay, so that's fully extended. Take the slack out. Crimp. Take off the excess. And now with it like that, in fact, if anything, that's a bit tight. And now with luck, I'm the only Royale owner in the country that's got a kickdown that works. Right, and the last thing I'm going to do today is fill it up with antifreeze. So I've got some of the proper antifreeze. So the blue stuff, because it is not designed to take the modern pink stuff. So I've just pulled the bottom hose and drained it all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to vac fill it, because I've got the vac fill kit. And the one thing I have noticed in the various trials and tribulations of this was the airlocks in it, because it has got this bleed screw at the top, but I daren't undo it. That's got break that thermostat housing written all over it if I undo that. Right, right, so that's the full kit, does all sorts of cars. The thing we're interested in is that, because that attaches to this cooling system. Then we've got this stunning gadgetette. Chris and Rob at Salvage Rebuild swear by their one of these. They only ever fill cooling systems up with it now. They don't even try and burp them out manually like the old days. So you put that on there. Yeah, why can't you go the other way round so I can show everybody? I mean, you know, come on, be useful. It's going to be one of them days. No, you're not going to do that, are you? You're not going to be useful. That's for any water that gets expelled. And then we give it some compressed air. And now, with the compressed air running, take two, with the compressed air running, and that valve open, we pull a vacuum. And that vacuum is holding, which means the system is sealed. Excellent. I've lowered the pressure so much that the water, any air that's in there will just literally be bubbling through the water that's still in there. Now, and put that in there, and it will just hoover it with that vacuum. That is a good gadget, I like that. Right, that's good. That's got 5 litres into it. It's just under a 10 litre system. So with what I couldn't drain out of the block, that'll be the remaining and what's in the heater. So that'll have that at about a 50-50 mix, and that's good. Okay, so we can't put it off any longer. What we need is a decent shakedown drive and actually a wash. Both me and Roy. We're needing a run, so I'm thinking something circa about 50 miles would be good. We've got half a tank of fuel. Trip meter is currently on 31 miles. I'm not going to reset it because I reset it when I put the engine in, and I want to count to 500 because that's when it needs an oil change. And its head bolt's talking down again. Right, you don't want to sit there and watch me drive for 50 miles, so I'll come back to you if there's anything interesting. Okay, situation report. We are on a dual carriageway, doing 2,500 revs. We are 17 miles away from where we started. We've even overtaken something. Only doing about 60 miles an hour, because 60 miles an hour in this thing is 3,000 revs. We've already had one little hiccup where the glass fuel filter filled up. A different kind of crud this time, so it might be stuff that was in the lines. But emptying that has solved that problem. I imagine we're going to have to just keep throwing fuel through it and emptying it out. A couple of things that I've noticed. First of all, it does seem to sit on about 3/4 on the temperature gauge all the time. Doesn't go any higher than that though. Voltage, brilliant. Oil pressure, fantastic. However, there is one gauge that's a little bit worrying. It's this fuel gauge, which appears to be dropping with an absolutely alarming rate. I forgot how much fuel these things drink. You know, we've done, well, we've actually now done 18 miles since we left home. That means we're well on our way to 1.5 gallons of fuel, because they do like to drink fuel. Yeah, so anyway, that was a quick sit rep. I'm going to turn you off and reopen the window because it's hot, and obviously there's no air conditioning or a fan even, which is great. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Right, sit rep. So we made it to Rochester. I've been and seen some friends and generally done a bit of that social life thing. Roy has had a bit of a rest and has cooled right down. We're on 74 miles now. We were on 31 when we started. So yeah, we've done 43 miles today. That's good. And we've got to do the same going back. We were running a little bit hot for my liking. But I may be being paranoid. You know, it didn't overheat, didn't do any steam thing. It has drunk some water. It drunk, cooling down, it drunk the header tank full of water. Now that could have been an airlock that's come out and let some more fluid in. I only got 5 litres into it. So I'm not worried about it drinking water at the moment unless it keeps drinking water. Because what these particular ones do is if there's air in them when they're hot, then when they cool down, that air contracts and it sucks water back in from the header tank. So it's probably doing that, so it's probably all right. Oh God, look at the muck in here. I just noticed that, it's filthy. The other thing I've done is I've taken the thermostat out, because if it is running a bit hot, there are 3 possibilities. There is the radiator is blocked, in which case taking the thermostat out will do absolutely nothing. It won't change a thing. B, the thermostat is not opening properly, in which case it will run significantly cooler now without a thermostat in it at all. And the third option is that water, it just needed that water that it's drunk, in which case it will run cooler. Well, because it's got no thermostat in, it will run significantly cooler. So it will discount one of the 2 things. If it runs significantly cooler, then we know the radiator's not blocked up, in which case I'll just get a new thermostat because they're cheap. And then we'll see how it feels. It could be I end up replacing a thermostat completely unnecessarily. But if it is the same with the thermostat out, then the radiator's blocked up and we need to take the rad out and back flush it and that kind of thing. So we're also still getting a bit of crud in the fuel. I've just cleaned the filter again. I'm going to be a little bit brave and I'm going to take a slightly more direct route back. Mainly because in an hour and a quarter's time, we've got the meet up with the lads, with Derek. So let us get motoring. I'll take starting like that every day of the week. Really will. And we're probably going to stop at Asda on the way and pick up some fuel, because we've used about a third of a tank just coming here. Okay, I'm making this sort of ending bit before the light goes. We are not far away from home. We seem to be getting less junk out of the fuel line, so I think the system has cleared itself now and the fuel lines are flushed out like the tank is. We just went about 30 miles and I stopped to have a look at the fuel filter and there was hardly anything to speak of, so that's good. Definitely need to deal with the dashboard lights because most of them were blown. Also need to get those track rod arms sorted out, because it's very annoying driving at this sort of 20 or 20 to 3 situation. Other than that, touch wood, everything seems to be going okay. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next time when we rescue a bit more of Roy and possibly try and get this carburettor just slightly better in tune. It's idling a bit rough. It's driving beautiful, but idling a bit rough. So yeah, as demonstrated here. So yeah, like, subscribe, share. I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.